we bear witness that there is no object worthy of worship except for Allah, Azza wa Jalla. And we bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his final messenger. Allah sent the Prophet Muhammad with the guidance and religion of truth so that it could prevail over all of other ideologies, even though those who associate partners with Allah, they will hate this fact. That no matter what they do, Islam will keep on growing. Even though they can get all of the interceptor missiles and hellfire missiles, and they can kill women and children and men. Even though they do all of that, they can't stop Islam. They can fight the Muslims, but it ain't no stopping this deen. And so we see with the West in general, in my lifetime, seems like it's the same old story. Same old story. Oh, we gotta actually save these people from themselves. You know, their leaders, they don't like their leaders, and their leaders don't like them. The women don't have rights. The women want to get drunk and go to the club. Why can't they do this? We got to make sure that women have the right to be sexually harassed throughout the globe. So if women are dressing modestly, we got to put an end to that. And it don't matter how many people we kill in the process. So no matter if you talk about the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, present day, or if you go all the way back to shortly after the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you'll find that these Western empires always find a reason to kill the Muslims. So now they're bombing Iran because Iran has a nuclear missile. Any nation with a nuclear missile never gets bombed by the U.S. Any nation with a nuclear missile is never going to be bombed by the U.S. and is never going to be bombed by Israel. I'm going to say it one more time. Because we went from the Iranians aren't producing a nuclear bomb, and even if they was to produce it, it'd take them 3 years, to we got this imminent threat of Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. Why not? America got nuclear bombs. It's good for the goose, ain't it good for the gander? Israel has nuclear bombs. If it's good for the goose, ain't it good for the gander? And I'm not here, I'm not Iranian. But they're my Muslim brothers though. I'm not Shia, but they are my Muslim brothers though. And so just like they want to destroy the Iranians, next month or next year it's going to be the Saudis. Don't think the Saudis are safe. Because I'm old enough to remember when Saddam Hussein was buddy-buddy with the United States. I'm old enough to remember that. I'm old enough to remember when the U.S. gave Saddam Hussein so many weapons to fight the Iranians that at the end of the war, he had the 4th largest army in the world. Iraq. He had every kind of weapon that you could think of. He didn't have a nuclear weapon, though. So in the end, if you don't have a nuclear weapon, when America want to move on you, they're going to move on you. Ask the North Koreans. And I don't believe in nuclear proliferation. But I know that's just an excuse. Because Allah in the Holy Quran, He teaches us in Surah Al-Naml. He says on the tongue of built peace that whenever kings enter into a land, they spoil it. So your country might be just barely surviving. But once the colonialists get there, it's going to get worse. So, and how do they do it? Because they make their most noble citizens into the lowest of the low. So somebody who actually is leading the country, trying to do what they can for the nation, they're going to say, oh, these people are a bunch of fundamentalists. They're a bunch of terrorists. They have all of these pejorative names so that people in the West will be like, ain't no problem with bombing the terrorists. Ain't no problem with bombing a fundamentalist. Ain't no problem with bombing somebody back to the Stone Ages. And the West, they can't even keep up. Because they go to public school in America, so they never heard about Iran before. They don't know that the Iranians is a great civilization. They don't know that the Aryan nation, the Aryan Brotherhood, comes from Zoroastrianism, which used to be the religion of Iran. They don't know that. So basically, America got a bunch of Aryans up in this joint. All of them people who vote Republican now, they used to vote Democrat when I was young. And they was Aryan, they was racist. So they used to have a religion in Iran before the Muslims got there called Zoroastrianism. And the teachings of Zoroaster, he said it was two gods. It was a white god and a dark god. And he was talking about metaphysically, but people took it to be physically. They said, no. He was saying you had to create a race of supermen, and those supermen had to fight on the side of the God of light against the forces of darkness, like the Jedi Council or whatever. And so he's saying until the day of judgment, you're going to have this fight between light and darkness. And so then a man named Nietzsche wrote a manifesto called Thus Spaketh Zoroaster. And once he wrote that, he's like, yeah, no, it's us, all of the white people from Europe, got to fight against all of these dark people from the southern world, the southern parts of the globe. Those are the forces of darkness. And this gave rise to the Nazi Party. This is where the Nazi Party came from. It came from the book Nietzsche wrote, Thus Spoke Zoroaster. Why am I saying this? Because most Americans, they don't have no idea about anybody's history, including their own. So they think that the Aryans are from someplace other than Iran. So basically, they're saying, yeah, go bomb them Iranians. Go bomb them. Why we care? And your whole ideology is a warped version of a religion that came from that nation. That's how ancient that nation is. The first White House was in Iran. The first White House. Their king lived in a house that was called the White House. And so they go back further than Islam. In fact, they're mentioned in the Holy Quran. In Surah Rum. They're mentioned in the Holy Quran. This is a great people that go back thousands of years. But to America, they don't care. They don't, them in Israel, the Israelis, they don't work in unison. So bump us all off one at a time. And because we're so divided as Muslims, they get away with it. This is insanity. The Muslims are collectively insane because they'll never get together. They'll never unify. It'll always be some reason to watch one of them get took out. And that's because every time these kings, these imperialists, these capitalists, when they enter into a land, they spoil it. And they make its best people into the lowest of the low. Allah instance ayat, just in case you say, well, this is Bill Gates, this ain't Allah. Allah says, وَكَذَلِكَ يَفْعَلُونَ. And this is exactly how it's done. So what we're going to hear on the news is about clerics. Cleric is not an Arabic word. There's no such thing as an Islamic cleric. Because the word cleric is not an Arabic word. So when they start saying stuff like these clerics, these mullahs, they have a death coat, They only want to see death and destruction. They don't care about their own people. Every people cares about their own people. Every people. There's no people that want to see their people be bombed. But they can tell that to Americans because fundamentally, America is a nation that was built on wealth, whiteness, and masculinity. That's what this nation was built on. Does that mean that every rich person, every white person, and every man is bad? No, just most of them. But this country was built on those pillars. So all they got to do is point at somebody else and say, well, that person's not white. That person's not male. Or that person is not rich. And because we grow up going to these white supremacist schools, well, they painted the Vietnamese like that. Oh, these Vietnamese, they're not parents like we parents. They don't care when their kids get killed. They painted the Iraqis like that. We can't let them paint our Iranian brothers and sisters like that. We got to tell them these is our brothers and sisters. Because the reality is, Iran has a lot of ethnic groups. It's 90 million plus people in Iran. They have Afghans in Iran. They have people from Baluchistan make up a significant number of the Iranian people. They call them Baluchi. Y'all didn't know Jim Belushi was Muslim. They got Arabs in Iran. They have Kurds in Iran. Iran is not just a nation of people from what they call Farsi or Faris. They're not all Persians. They're the majority. They're probably 60%. The religion of Islam, Sunni Muslims. Could Sunni Muslims exist without Imam Bukhari? What would we look like without Imam Bukhari? Could Sunni Muslims exist without Imam Muslim? Could Sunni Muslims exist without Abu Hanifa? And he was a Persian. The Prophet ﷺ said about these people, if Islam was in the stars, a Persian man would climb there and get it. So what about Bukhari and Muslim? That don't mean nothing to us no more? They're going to bomb the land of Imam Bukhari and we just going to be like, oh, so what? For all of my Sufi brothers and sisters, Imam al-Ghazali was Persian. Imam al-Ghazali was Iranian. Because, no matter what you want to say, don't nobody think like an Iranian thinks. I'm talking about the standard Iranian. That dude is a genius, man. I'm talking about just the run-of-the-mill Iranian, Farsi, Persian. They think very strategically. And that's why they done lit up Tel Aviv with 1,000 missiles in 5 days. You know how sometimes you'll underestimate somebody? You think, I can wrestle this dude. And then you put a move on, you be like, let me go, let me go. So whenever we see people in the streets protesting this war, I done been in a lot of protests. The Muslims ain't never there, man. Now, I don't want to hear nothing about homosexuals no more Muslims, because homosexuals are there for Palestine. They're there for Palestine. Where are you guys at? The Latinos is there for Palestine. White folks is there for Palestine. The Muslims, we just stay home. We don't get involved. What can they do if the 9 to 12 million Muslims was in the streets instead of online? That would be its own civil rights. It would be a modern-day civil rights movement. But we can sit online and talk about this group of Muslims don't do this right. This group of Muslims don't do this. Don't you see the house is on fire? The house is burning, man. You got to put out the flames. It don't matter what the other Muslims is you go to work every day? Or did you say, well, those kind of Muslims is like this, these kind of Muslims is like that? You think that these Americans care what kind of Muslim you are? They don't care about anything. They don't even care that the people are Muslim. Like, we in our mind, we be like, they killing us because they Muslim. These people just want their resources, man. And it's not until we do something as Muslims, a miracle's not going to fall out the sky. You got to make a miracle happen. And this is the Islam of our Sahaba. Allah said He was going to protect the Quran. How did He protect the Quran? The Sahaba compiled the Quran. Allah didn't just send a book down. Any miracle you want, you got to go get it. Allah